Hello and welcome to the new season of Stop Shitting All Over Yourself. This is my very first episode with a guest. I am here with Roxanne Wilson. I am super excited to have her on my show because while we were recording our segment for her holiday workshop that's coming up, I said the word busy and she sparked. Like I could see the light open up in her eyes that she had a lot to say about this, and she had to hold herself back because we had other things we were going to talk about. But I was like, you know what? This is an absolutely perfect thing for us to talk about on my podcast. So Roxanne, welcome.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's always good to be here, to see you, to hang out with you, all the things.
Oh, so much fun. And we're going to be hanging out again later too. We hang out like a lot, I think, on Saturdays. Okay, so I want to ask you a question. When I was going through your sort of your website and really trying to figure out what things I wanted to highlight when we were talking, I actually realized that I needed to start with the thing that you are known for the most. Remember, you are not ahead. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. And I found that to be a very interesting philosophy, especially related to being busy or using the word busy or not busy, that kind of thing. So tell me a little bit about this philosophy. Where did it come from and why is it so important to you?
Yeah, I thank you for that. It's so funny because you never know when someone's like, I'm going to sum you up. I'm like, what am I most known for? You don't know until you know. I'm glad I'm like, it could be anything with Manissa knows.
They got to be something you knew.
I know. Well, Manissa knows so much, it could be anything. So it came really, honestly, I got the concept from a couple of my coaches. At the time I was coaching, James Wedmore is a coach of mine. And at the time, Dr. Shannon Irvine was as well. And they were both talking about this concept of being like content where you are and not focusing so much on the past or on the future.
Yeah.
Focusing in that moment. And from that, between that and something my dad has always said to me, which is everything in life prepares you for what you're supposed to do in the future. It dawned on me that I was like, wait a moment, especially in the space and with my audience, if we focus so much on where we could have been or what we should be doing, and stop shitting on yourself, we don't enjoy the moment. We don't even see the goodness that's happening, and we don't even appreciate the fact that some of these things that we think are kind of difficult are molding us, right? You see movies and you see, like, this summer I was traveling a lot. I travel a lot. That's what I do. And I watched all of the Marvel universe. I'd never seen it before. Yeah. So I saw like one or two or three of them, but I watched it from like beginning to end. And what's so funny is when you watch a show like that or a movie like that, you see the way Thor is a great example. Thor was an asshole. He was an F boy, right? He was basically
absolutely. We can swear. You can swear.
Okay. He was a real fuck boy, right? And that's what he was. But by the end of that first movie, and even as his trajectory goes on, and you see what he goes through, he becomes a man. He becomes a man totally. And you see those moments where he's lost it all, right? And you think, oh, he's screwed. Like when his sister comes and kicks him out and stuff, he's screwed. And if you stopped in that moment and you were like, oh, woe is me, kind of like he did when he got big and fat, remember? And it's like, oh, this is how my life is, and life just sucks. If you stay in that moment, you won't even get to the good stuff, and you won't appreciate the fact that you were there for a reason. Had those things not happened to him, he would never be where he is. And I haven't seen the new one, actually, the movie, so I don't know where he is right now, but he would never be who he was, the God of Thunder, if he hadn't gone through all of those things. And I think that's what we have to realize. And when we sit there, and it also takes away judgment, because if we're sitting there all the time thinking that oh my goodness, I should be doing this, or I should have been doing that, or I'm not good enough this way, I'm not good enough that way, we're judging every moment. And we never judge any moments that are about ourselves kindly. We never say, I'm amazing, I'm awesome, oh my goodness. We're like the Simon Cowell of yesteryear about ourselves. Right? It's true. And so when we do that, we're not even kind to ourselves. We feel crappy. It's all the things, right? Anxiety comes, depression comes, being jealous and being a mean, spiteful person comes, whether it's to yourself or to others. And so, like, when I'm sitting in that high place or that low place, if I remember I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, then I can find contentment in that moment and find the thing I'm supposed to learn or experience in that moment. And it's almost like a puzzle to keep moving forward.
I love that so much. The thing that you said that really resonates with me is this thought of like you're living in the past or you're living in the future and you're never really living in the now. And like I think we lose sight of the fact that we're very successful. Like whoever you are, you're very successful because you've made it this far. Like we feel like success is there or success is in our past, oh, the good old days, right? But we never even stop to consider that, like, right, we can make right now. So I really love this. It's a very mindful perspective. And you also touched upon, and I want to actually move further into this part where you talked about judgment, right? So like let's start talking about like a little bit about the word busy, because there is a lot of judgment in that word, I think, from coming from a variety of spaces, and there's just so much the word to unpack. So first, let's just start with what gives you such a hard on about this word. Tell me about it.
If a hard on means I'm so annoyed and frustrated that word even exists, then yes, I have a major hard on for it. If it means I love this word like avocados, then no.
I mean, it was really like, you know what? You got excited. It's okay. Here's what it is. You got really excited, as it were, excited about talking about the word. Like you don't like the word, but you were just like, I want to talk about this like right now. It was super, and because you had something to say, and I really wanted to hear what it was, but you didn't have time to talk about it then.
So, it's my one woman. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. You got me all hard on again about it. It is my one woman mission. I have many missions, but one of them happens to be to just eliminate this word. Because busy is relative. And when we talk about something that is so obviously relative, it's abused, misused, misinterpreted, excuse me. And it just frustrates the heck out of me because that's not what people mean. When someone says I'm so busy, I'm so important that whatever you think that I should be doing, or you think that I would be doing, or what I really need to be doing is not as important as just me saying I'm busy. And I think for me, part of it is, I guess I'm not single. I have a partner, but pre-Scott, I was single for years, decades. I mean, dated on and off, but nothing to write home about, never been married. And I would get the judgment always often from friends who were married about how busy they were. And I just thought that was, oh, I'm so busy. I can't do that. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. And when they'd say what they're busy with, it was nothing different than what I was doing.
Right.
It wasn't like, it didn't ever have to do with their spouse, or it was like, oh yeah, I have work and I have this and I have junior league. I'm like, I have those things too.
Right.
And it just like, people use the word, and I know this might irk some people, and I'm totally fine with that. But what you're saying when you're saying you're too busy is you're saying that it's not a priority. So just say it. Just say you're not a priority, or that thing's not a priority, because then it's like clarity. I'm so busy makes people think, oh, maybe I'm not doing enough. Why do I have time to do this thing?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? Wait a second. What's going on there? And then the irony of it is, and this is why I say it's relative as well too, because when people list off what they're busy, and I'm putting air quotes around that with, and sometimes when you look at what you're doing, I mean, I would be working, and like back in the day, I was working. I was 2 jobs, Jazzercise. I was a Jazzercise franchisee, and I was doing home shopping, which means that I was around the clock, could be on air any time of the day and on call. And I was mentoring the kids in junior high and high school kids at my church. And I was in junior league and a load of other things. And I would never walk around saying I was busy. And people would be like, oh yeah, I've got to study for an exam, or one thing, or I've got to go to the grocery store. I'm so busy. And I'm like, wait a moment. I am not trying to say I'm more important than you are, or I'm busier than you are. But if you want to start listing off the things that make you busy, you seem like you're not doing very much. Like you're using that word. It's a heavy word that you are abusing and using.
Oh my God, there were so many things you said there to like, I love it. I love it. Okay, hold on. I want to come to like, let's start with the one where you were talking about what does it mean? Right. Because, we had this conversation the other day where it actually can mean so many things. It can mean, and I actually because it means so many things, I actually made a list. It can mean I don't have time for you. It can mean you aren't a priority, which is what you said earlier on. It can mean I'm otherwise occupied doing something else, right? Depending on who you are and how you use it. Or like people will say it in ways that are like so negative, right? Oh my God, I'm so busy this weekend, or I have, and I think like the the thing that comes to mind is that the word busy brings a specific vision to your mind, right? When you say it, and what it to me is, imagine like 50,000 bees, because that's just busyness, right? And they're all in like a little thing, and all bzz, 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 right? And you can't, because there's so many of them, you can't even see them, and there's so many things to do. It's chaos. So, in preparation for this conversation, when I was actually, I read a bunch of articles on busyness, and I was really interested to find some ideas. And one of the things that I'm curious to know what your thoughts are is that when you say you're busy, because this dovetails into what you were saying, what you're really saying is that I don't know how to manage my time,
Mm.
or I don't know how to manage all of the things that I need to do, or I don't know how to set boundaries, or I don't know how to prioritize, right? And you're right, this is going to piss some people off. And the truth is it pissed me off when I first realized it too. Like, actually, I'm curious, because you and I asked you a question. I said, have you ever called yourself busy? And you said no, and that's not really your jam. So I'm curious to know, when you have many things to do, right? How do you
Mhm.
think of your life? Like, do you think that you're busy? Do you think of it as full? What are the words that you use?
I will say things like I'm still I'm like my schedule is full, or I'm complete, or I've maxed out. Like, because
Okay.
it's more of like a time thing as opposed to, because I didn't read the articles, but I love that you did in that. I'm like, oh yes, I'm down with that. I use other words because they're words that haven't been abused and used and misused. So, like busy has been so much. And so yeah, that's what I use. I'm full, I'm complete. My schedule is tapped out. Anything that's more of like, I have decided, and really it could be one thing on, like, I'm not judging anyone who has one thing for the day and that's their thing, right? All I'm saying is when you say that you're busy, it has all that extra meaning and
Yes.
connotation around it. And so, and I like what you said about it means you can't manage your time, because if people realize that, maybe they would use another word. Like, it's not a priority. And I'll say that too. I'm like, hey, that's not a priority for me. And I do. I say that
Mhm.
right now it's not a priority. Right now it's not on my list of things. It's not part of my plan. I say that as well too. If it's not a priority, I tell people it's not a priority. And it's almost like Sex in the City when Miranda had this awakening from she was like calling this guy. He said he would call, and I don't know what. And it was like, it means he's just not that into you.
Yeah, I remember that episode. Yep.
And she was like, the lights went on. She's like, thank you. That's all I needed to know. Just tell me what it is. And it's like when people say, I can't afford it, they're often saying it's not a priority. Because the truth of the matter is, if you wanted to go to that concert, if you wanted to buy that thing, you would find a way to do it.
Amen. I'm a big believer that anything that you don't do because you don't want to. Like, ultimately,
Yes.
the bottom line of life, the truth of, I think this is the truth of the universe. I'm going to lay it down. You do the things you want to do, right? Like, that's
Mhm.
ultimately, and if you, sometimes we have to do like mental hopscotch, and we hate whatever it is that we're doing, but it is scratching an itch. It is doing something for you. And I feel like by doing this sort of, what's occurred, not this referendum on the word busy, what we're really doing is, this conversation is about reflecting upon what the word means, so you can be more specific, because that's the other thing that I get from you, is that it could mean a lot of things, but it also doesn't have a lot of specificity. So it's like, you could say I'm busy and you mean it one way, and then
Mhm.
I hear that you're busy and I take it another way, and now I'm pissed, which, I mean, it has never happened, but like, you know what's great? You and I have always had that with each other, where we just say, listen, this is not a priority right now, or I have something else to do. Now, I have a question for you though. How do you handle it? Because, like, for a lot of people, saying that it's not a priority, like, they're worried about hurting other people's feelings, or they're worried about, how they might take it, or it's seeming like they, like, almost like, I don't want to do that, as if like I'm too good to do whatever it is that you've asked me to do. Like, how do you navigate that emotional space when you're actually setting those boundaries?
Well, what I find is people typically more and more put busy on me. They say, I know you're so busy. That's lately, that's how I hear it.
Interesting.
I hear it all the time. I know you're so busy. You're so busy. And I stop them always, always. Whether I've just met you, there was someone I just met, I had a meeting with yesterday. And he's like, thank you so much. I know you're so busy. I'm like, stop that right now. I'm like, let me just tell you right now, busy. So I think in a way, I make the guidelines and I give my paradigm, because when they say that I'm busy, I say, no, I don't like that word. I don't use that word. It's relative. It means a bunch of different things. Please don't see me as busy. I might have a full calendar. I might have different priorities, but I'm not busy. So I think at that point, they don't say to me they're busy because I've just told them that word, it doesn't exist in my world, and I won't hear it.
Right. I like that's actually that's a really great way of doing it because it makes it a little bit less like you're being like I'm too busy for you, but it really sort of just I really like that. Now, so you talked about how you teach because that's a teaching moment. It's a teachable moment when somebody says that and you're like, okay, I have the opportunity to share. So I want to actually go into like the courseworks that you create. Like you've created a lot of things over the years and I've watched you keep some, lose some.
Can I pause you for 1
Yeah.
second before we go to courses? Because you said a couple things that were, whoa, lights
Yeah,
on.
yeah, hit me. Let's do it.
Okay, so you know how we talk about like the most valuable, like the world talks about the most valuable commodities are time and money.
Mhm.
And I just saw a correlation because we also talked about how when it comes to money, when you can't afford something, you say that it's like it's not a priority for you.
Yeah.
And like that time is the same thing because busy attaches itself to time, right? And so when we say we're busy, we're saying it's not a priority. Um, so I was like, wait a minute, that's probably why they both are like that. When you can't afford something, or when you say you're too busy,
Yeah.
that's you saying, because when you say you're too busy, that's saying you can't afford the time to do whatever you're doing, right? So that I was like, whoa,
Oh.
yeah, you gave
Oh,
me that.
I
Thank you.
got something. I got something on that one. Okay. So I take it one step further
Mhm.
is so think about what it feels like when you say I can't afford something, right? You're putting yourself in a victimhood space, right? Because I can't afford it means that the world exists in such a way where as opposed to saying this isn't in my budget, right? I have decided I'm empowering myself with this, right? So when you think about I'm busy, busy in and of itself also is very disempowering because it basically means that all this stuff is happening around you and you just have to do the things because they're coming at you, but you don't have any power to control what those things are. And so you're busy dealing with them. And I think that like when I think about it, like as we're talking, I was starting to feel that feeling of helplessness of like, I don't know what to do about this, right? And that's why this is so important because the language that we use frames our perspective on the things that we're doing. So if you say you're busy and you say I can't afford it, then you're really saying I am helpless, but you don't actually recognize that that's the subconscious message you're sending. And so it bleeds into everything else. Like you said that, I was like, oh my God, this is so good.
Yeah, that you know what, I'm gonna riff off that because you're so right about that. It puts you in a mindset. And so then your subconscious is living in a world where your things are happening to you,
Yeah.
but you're not in control of it. And I love that you said that because when you say you're busy, you're saying I'm not in control of these things that I'm doing. Whereas if you say my schedule is full or I'm complete or it's not a priority, you are actively making that decision
Yes.
as opposed to letting that decision happen to you. And it gives this power, this subconscious power that is a really, really cool thing.
I'm having Megan on next. So she's my second guest. And Megan, so for anybody who is interested in learning how to manage your time, that is going to be absolutely critical. Like I love how I got you guys on in sequence because I was like, as we were talking about this, I was like, oh my God, Megan's just going to dovetail like right after this.
Heck yes.
You
And
said
she
you had
doesn't
some
like the word busy either, by the way.
oh, fabulous. We'll bring that up at the end too. I'll be like, okay, Roxanne told me. What do you mentioned was there anything else that you wanted to jump in on that one?
Yeah, you also talked about how sometimes we do things that may seem uncomfortable. And I think that we live in a world where we think in our conscious mind thinks that everything should be rainbows and sunshine. And if it's not, something's wrong. But there is some type of weird, for lack of a better word, kinky thing where we do like pain.
Yeah.
We do like struggle.
Like I used kink in there.
I know my audience. I know who I'm talking about. I'm talking to. Um, so and like it's probably in most of our subconscious minds. And I think we all probably know someone we're like, oh my gosh, they're always going through something. It's always some type of malaise. And you have to, at some point have to ask yourself, do they have some type of enjoyment that they get out of that?
I'm going to tell you, yes, for sure. I have been there. I love the melancholy. So if I go into a space, like if I allow myself to go down that road, which I've been in that space, I won't leave it. I love the melancholy. I will sit and listen to Aha and cry and like I can really spend a lot of time in that space. And here, if you had asked me then, I would be like, no, I don't like it. And it wasn't until I realized how addicted I was to it I actually had to stop listening to Aha, who was like my favorite band, and Morton Harkett is like the sexiest man alive. Go look at him online, and then you'll be in your bunk. Wow, he's like at 70, the man is just. I really, I need a minute. I had to stop listening to Aha because I realized that when I listened to it, I could feel where it was taking me. Like I started to realize that I really enjoyed that space, and it was a sick enjoyment. And I realized that if I really wanted to heal, I had to decide that I was okay with letting go of some of the security blankets that I had held on to. And a lot of those security blankets are music and movies and shows and things like that, that like reinforced those perspectives. So to answer your question, I was one of those people for sure. But now I subscribe to your philosophies. I use it slightly differently. So the words that I use is the pendulum swings both ways. And it's that, the pendulum, if it swings this way to good, it swings this way to bad. You take the good, you take the bad, and you are with the pendulum, and it's going to hit you in the face when it's bad, and when it's great, it's going to hit you in the face with awesome. But you're not going to be in this space forever, because it's a cycle. It just swings, so whenever I'm in a bad space, I'm like, it swings both ways. It'll come back, and it allows me to feel this sense of contentment where I am, because it's like I'm walking through the journey of life, and the journey of life has joy and it has pain, because truthfully the pain and the growth is what gives like a lot of these that's what gives the joy meaning, right? Like, how enjoyable would a life be? Like, I've known some really, 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 really blessed people, and they can still find things wrong with their life, because like they have tons and tons of money, they've never had to worry about anything in their lives, but it's for them, they're gonna find something else wrong, because they need to be able, you have to have the ebb and flow. I never thought about that till you said that. It's like, oh yeah, that definitely
biblical, or which is to everything turn.
Is that biblical? I thought it was that song from
the song is actually the lyrics from the Bible.
No kidding. Oh my God. Yeah. I was like, I did not know that. And that is, I'm actually really working more on like thinking in a cyclical way and less in a linear way. Because I think like when you think linearly, you can always get stuck where you're at. But if you think cyclically, then it's like you're just always going to end up where you want to be eventually. Oh my God, I love that. Did we get all the things that you had in your?
I mean, I also heard you take the good, you take the bad, and there you have the facts of life.
Oh yeah, of course.
And then the pendulum, I was thinking about coming in like a wrecking ball.
I love that song. I love her. Yes.
Right? It hits you in the face, but when it's going well, you come in like a wrecking ball, and you're like riding jockey shorts. Yeah. So you were giving me a lot of visuals. I just had to call those out.
Thank you so much. I like giving, and I'm glad they were all musically related, because I mean, this is our jam. And by the way, if you want to hear more of these jams, by the way, Roxanne and I are live every Saturday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm like, on Fireside. So join us there too. Okay, so I want to talk about your courses a little bit, because we're going to talk about the holiday course a little bit later, but first I want to talk about generally your approach, because your clientele is mostly network marketers, actually exclusively network marketers. And having been one myself, I know how the industry itself is designed to keep you feeling like, and this is no judgment, it's just an observation that we need to be aware of. It's designed to keep you looking forward, running ahead, getting, sort of, which can be helpful to stay on track, but can also put you on a train where you're just constantly doing all the time. Now, you've structured your coursework to be sort of a supplement to what people learn from their direct sales companies. How has your perspective on busyness and time management framed how you created your courses to make sure that people aren't working all the time?
Well, I think that's a really good question. In some ways, my membership kind of switched, right? Because people want a quick, so I had to stop giving people what they think they want and just tell them straight out, listen, that's not going to happen. Yeah. I want to master social media in a month or in 6 weeks or 8 weeks. I'm like, okay, we can do that. But the amount of work that one has to do to make that happen is crazy pants. So now I call it a year program. You have a year to make it through all these things and you can continue. And my goal, my hope is that they will continue and I still give them great value. But understanding about a year and a half ago, maybe I just started calling out, y'all, this is going to take you about a year.
Yeah.
If a year of if you're sticking with it, a year to build it out, to test it, to tweak it, to do all the steps to make a social media funnel. Now, because realize and someone's like, how long does it take to learn how to post something on social media? It's so much more than that. If you want to do it right,
Yeah.
it's creating that whole sales funnel and really building out. And I find that people are really good at the beginning steps, right? They've got the I'm doing my social media. I've done the makeover. I've gotten my captions are better. All right, I'm starting to interact with people, but the getting them off of social media and then onto their list,
Yeah.
that's where things start to like crumble. And so what I've found is by doing a year program, I can really nurture that in a big way and encourage them completing that and really being consistent about it. So that's one thing. Spreading it out makes them not feel busy. But then also I'm counterculture in the sense that a lot of network marketing companies or uplines, whatever, we'll call them all the same thing. Tell people you need to be posting every day, twice a day, and do reels and all these things and be on these platforms. And I'm countercultural saying pick one. First of all, you can be great on one platform.
Yep.
And if that platform starts doing you wrong, then you can look at another one. But until then, if you're making your money, you're making your money. Do your thing. Secondly, you do not need to be posting or creating over and over again all those times. You can post 3 times on Instagram and give the algorithm enough and give your people enough that they're very happy. 3 times a week is a lot different than 10, 15, 20, or even 5 or 6 for that matter. So it's giving them and showing them why and how it doesn't have to be the way everyone says it has to be.
Yeah.
Because typically what they're hearing from corporate or upline are really antiquated old things that aren't even applicable.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And there's some coaches who still are training with that old philosophy as well. Like it's one of the reasons why I adore you in the work that you do so much is that it is counterculture to the way we've always done things, and the way we've always done things just doesn't work anymore. And the way that I think about it is this is like it's sort of if I asked you right now, hey, can you write a letter, to your congressman? And I say, here's a typewriter. You're like, what? Why would I?
I'm actually really good typist. I could do it.
I am too, but why would you use a typewriter, right?
I
Like you
would,
have a computer.
yeah.
You're just like, why would you use that? You're like, I could use a computer. And I'm like, no, you have to use a typewriter. Here's your whiteout. Here's your carbon paper. I need you to make 15 copies of this. And here's a mimeograph
Ah,
machine, right? And it's like, it's great. Those things do exist, but you could do it so much faster on a computer, right?
well, and I'd even be like, can't I email it? Does it have to be a letter that goes into the mail? Because you know what I'm saying?
There's that too.
I'm like,
Is there a form on a website that I could just fill out?
can't I just tweet to them? Come on now. Like, so all these
So much
things,
more
right?
impact.
All these ways. So I hear you on that. And I think that is a great analogy of what it is right now in network marketing. And the thing is, when you join, you're told to believe and listen to everything they say. And
Yeah.
so I'm this person going, okay, that's not really what you need to do. If you want to come on over here. I gotcha. If not, that's fine. Do you? But we are igniting and changing this industry. And so either get on board or we're going to come in like a wrecking ball.
I think, for my audience specifically, that's so important because let's go back to what you said about posting 10 times a week versus 3 times. Now, this was actually, you and I probably came at this in our psychological evolutions at around the same time where I started to realize so for me, I think it actually takes about 18 months because I think it takes them 4 months to just get over themselves. And that's the thing. We all have to get over ourselves. Like, I'm not saying this is like my audience, you guys need to get over yourself. Everybody needs to get over themselves before they're going to be successful in business, because otherwise we're just too caught up in falling in love with our own ideas to actually figure out what's actually working and what isn't. So
Pause
one,
there.
yeah,
But also get over yourself if you think you can't do it. Like it's either or, right?
amen. Yeah, totally. Well, and a lot of times people who think they can't do it, that's why they look to their uplines, is because it's like, I don't know how to do it. And my upline has already done it. And that's part of the other problem, I think, is that like, when we were younger, the word busy meant something different because it wasn't like we didn't have the internet. People who were busy were always very important. Like I remember sitting in Boston looking in Copley, and there was this woman who walked by me in like a suit, and she was looking, the perfect bun and perfect everything walking by, and she looked very important and very busy. And I was sitting there high as a kite with my so some things don't change, with my cargo pants and my, just college clothes, and thinking to myself, man, she's so put together and she's so important. And I felt, and I internalized that. So for me, for many years, I thought that the more I had to do, the more important I was, the more value I have as a person.
Okay. Yes. Busy priority means important to people, right? I'm so busy means I'm so important. I love that because that's another one of the words that it means that it doesn't mean. So let's stop
Right.
using. But I'm obsessed with human design. Obsessed. I'm fascinated, all into it, right? The whole concept, or one of the concepts of human design, I'm now going to bastardize it because I'm a student of, I'm not.
We're all learning here.
We are all learning, but is that we are in the society that's very generator or builder focused. In other words, like do. Everyone needs to do. If you're not doing, you're lazy if you're not doing something. If it's not taking you all day, like you don't, like something is wrong with you, right? You should be working all the time. That
Yeah.
is generator mindset. And I'm not a generator, so neither are you. So there is that. But not generators aren't even meant to be doing all of the time, but we put value on like all that doing. So it's like, okay, what are you doing? I'm doing all my work. And that's one of the issues of network marketing, right? So if you think you got to do all this where you're like, I have to reach out, I have to post 3 or 4 times a day, I have to have all these events every day of the week, all these things, and you're so busy. And then you look at your paycheck.
Your hourly rate is like 14 cents an hour.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Like that's the key. Is like everybody signs up for network marketing to work less and make money, not to work that many hours and make 14 cents an hour. Like you could do anything else for that.
Thank you. And then they say, well, no, that's just the first few years and then it works out. Okay. Okay.
That's not how that's
That's
not how this works.
no. There is a way to do it. And then we also do this thing where we tell people you all have to do it the same way, right? Which is not just network marketing, it is society, which
That's
goes back
society
to
in general.
working 9 to 5.
2 5 was
It's really 8 to 6.
I
Yeah.
love it, love it, love it. I want to pause you on that. So there is a course I took from Toy Smith called Business Beyond Profit. And she talks about how the infrastructure that we have in society has its roots in the plantations and in slavery. It is mind-blowingly eye-opening. I recommend anybody, I have the link for it in the show notes. I think everyone needs to watch it because it really helps you to see how we have been programmed so deeply from very, very, very antiquated ideas that really just don't have any place in today.
Ooh, that's juicy. Well, and you think about the fact that with everything that has gone on over, I call it the lockdown slash pandemic, and I don't know when a pandemic is over or begins, but when you think about the fact that people were forced to go home and work from home, and suddenly they realized I can get my work done. I mean, scientists have been saying this forever. Like the amount of work that someone does at a 9 to 5 job is really like 4 hours of work, maybe 3, 4 hours of work.
No, absolutely. There's time where you're not working.
More time where you're not working than time that you are. And I think people realize that more when they were at home because they're like, wait a moment, I'm getting all this done. And I'm happier because I'm in an environment that I like. Not everyone, but for the most part, a lot of people were like, they had more control over their schedule because they're able to work from home. And I think that's also part of the reason we see this great resignation that just happened last year where people are like, forget this, I'm out of the work. I don't want to be in the 9 to 5. But then here's the other rub. They don't know what life is like outside of the 9 to 5. And they don't have the skills to really feel like it's okay and to make money. And so then we're seeing someone go back, right? Because they just don't, I don't know what to do. I thought I would do what Manissa does. I'll have an online business and voila, where they don't realize that Manissa has been doing a lot of things behind the scenes to make her business the way it is
For a long time. Well, and I think also it's like, this is something I didn't realize. Alex said this to me the other day. I said, I was working the other day, like 4 years ago, I was working nonstop and I was like, I'm so overworked. It's like, maybe I should just like quit and I'm just going to go back to corporate. Like, I'm just going to go back to corporate and get a 9 to 5 and just to work my regular 8-hour day. And he said, that's not going to matter. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he said, it won't matter. He's like, because we've been together for years. He's like, it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to find a way to work until midnight. And that was really eye-opening to me because it made me realize that wherever I go, there I am. And I have to change myself. Like in order for me to be able to not feel busy, which is a word I used all the time. And I'm still unprogramming myself on that one, is that, that I I will have to be the change, because no matter where I go, no matter what job I get, I'm going to feel this way until I sort out what it is happening in here.
Right. Which
Yeah.
is probably, I'm going to guess, has something to do with you think that in order to be important, I have to work, or maybe even that success has to be hard. Right.
It's a combination of success has to be hard. You have to always keep working, or lazy.
Yep. Yep. As
The
a minority, that's one that, like, people look at, well, not all minorities, but people look at blacks and also Latinos and think, okay, because of your mind, you must be lazy, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's a thing. Like, I never want to be considered lazy. I'm not lazy, but at the same time, it might take me less time to do something than it takes you. So then what do? Got to look around like I'm busy
Or you
then
get
I'm important. See?
or you're exploited then, because now you finish that job, so they're like, here, take more work, take more work, take more work, and now you have to say yes to that work, because again, as a person of color, if you don't do that work, then there's a huge amount of pressure on you to like represent, and it's not fair at all. But like, you feel the pressure to have to do more in order to achieve the same as what somebody else would have to do for just less time. Or they could sit around and be lazy or look lazy, which is nothing wrong with being lazy, by the way. Being lazy is amazing.
Actually a good thing, and it's
The
probably usually
best.
listening to your body and your body's saying no. But if because most people are more generator focused, or most people in the world are generators, and they have a motor, they have a desire to do something, or the ability, I should say. And so I think our society has really exploited that, which kind of goes back to what you were saying with that course that you took, where she talks about that.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, like the pyramids were brought into existence by masters, but they didn't build it. They had the generators that slaves had to make the pyramids.
Someone has to actually make the pyramids.
Exactly. And you can't imagine they were treated well or given time to do that.
Dude, I actually have so much to tell you. They've discovered so much about that, but that's a whole nother ball game. Like, we should have a whole conversation, because I learned so much stuff about the pyramid building. Because of my archaeological background, I'm on a news thing for all archaeology news, so I just get everything that they discover. And they found so many new tombs and new temples, and they're learning all this. Like, it's actually really fun. We should do a whole thing on that now. I don't totally see, you can't ADHD me like that. Okay. Let's
yes,
all right.
Yes,
So okay, we went all over the place, but I'm so excited about this stuff. Okay. So all right. So actually, we've gotten through all the questions that we somehow managed to get through all these questions on this one. So all right. Okay, so something that I gotta figure out how to like wrap this part up so we can move into do you have anything you want to say to wrap this part up before we go into the Patreon space? Because we talked about busyness, we talked about the thought about being busy. Oh, you know what? I wanted to tell you about something that I read about, and I was curious to know what you think about this. So, in preparation for this our conversation, I read this article. I'm going to actually send you all the articles because they were like super fun. But this one guy said that he challenged himself to not use the word busy for a month.
Oh my gosh, he's my.
I know, and it's
Are
amazing.
we related?
Yeah. So hello, Kira. Kira's here. She's staring at me. So I can sense that this means that poop is about to be extinguished somewhere in the house.
Not from our mouths, people, but from the dog.
From the dog. And anyway, so he challenged himself, and he said that it changed so much about how he approached his life, because he became more aware of what he was doing. He himself started to become calmer and like more like less feeling frenetic. And he said what he said is like, when I use the word busy, I started to program myself to feel frenetic. And the less I use the word busy and try to be more thoughtful about the word that I chose and intentional, like, what is it that I am actually? He found that his life just got slower, better, more productive, more happy, more fulfilling. He was doing the things that he really wanted to do. And I thought that was like, what a great experiment, right? So my thought is that, what do you think that we challenge everybody in here to not say the word busy for 1 month, including me.
It's the no busy challenge.
The no busy challenge. Like, I'm not going to be busy. You know what? Actually, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to challenge you to not say the word busy for 1 month. and this podcast is going to be posted on the business page. So bring your questions, bring your thoughts, bring your experiences of not saying the word busy to the business page, and let's talk about it. However, if you want to structure your business in such a way that you do not have to feel busy, especially for the upcoming holiday season, I want you to join us over in Patreon, where we're going to dig deep into Roxanne's new holiday workshop training. But before we jump off of this, Roxanne, I wanted to ask you one last question about this workshop. So
can I, I'm sorry, I gotta stop you again. Because when you told me about the guy, I was like, the word frantic came up. So when you were saying frantic, yes, busy is frantic. Okay.
Yes.
I guess I do have a hard on for this role, but here's the other thing I was thinking. For those of you, you did tell me, for those of you like, okay, I'm going to do this, but what happens if I say the word busy? Because it's a word you're probably using, you won't even realize you're using it to the challenge. Doesn't mean the challenge is over, but if you use the word busy, stop yourself and reframe it. Say, okay, you know what? If you say busy, actually, what I mean is blah, 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 blah. So
right. And you mentioned earlier, you said this is not a priority. My schedule is full right now. It's not in my plan. You said not in my plan.
Yep. Not what I'm intending to work on right now. Something where it's like you're like Tawanda taking control of it.
Tawanda. Oh my God, that's like my favorite scene in any movie of all time. Yes, Tawanda. I just saw that on somebody's feed and I was like, man, I forgot how much I love that scene. Face it, girls, I'm older and I have better insurance. Yes. Love it. Absolutely. Because you are going to say the word. And I think that's one of the most important things is recognizing that like we're human. And so these things are going to happen. It's not really about judging. It's really not about judgment at all, right? It's not about saying, well, I'm such shit, I said the word busy. It's really just about pausing and giving yourself the opportunity to reflect about whatever it is that you just said and what you actually mean by it, so that you can start to reprogram yourself. Because I mean, the way that we've been talking about, it's kind of like somebody else programmed us.
Well, society did. That's correct. That happened. It's parents and school and all the things. Oh my. No shade on them, but that's how our society is built. I love that though. Like, it's not a judgment. You're just reframing it. And when you do that, you are reprogramming your mind and your subconscious to choose another word and to actually act in a space where you're not in a lack mindset, but you have control of your schedule and what you choose to do. And that's okay. And that's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's ultimately the goal, is to have that control. Because when you have that control, you feel successful. I think having control, like, I feel like we spend so much time chasing control, but like the real control is in like the things that we don't expect. Now I have do you remember that song, Laura Branigan, Self-Control?
Oh, that one as well. Yes. But I was thinking about Control by Janet Jackson.
Oh my God. I haven't thought of that song.
Control. And then they're in the movie theater. I think that's the one where the movie theater and her backup singers, which one of them happens to be
J-Lo? Paula Abdul.
And they're sitting in popcorn like, Janet.
J-Lo was in Living Color, and Paula Abdul was the backup dancer for Janet Jackson. That's and then let's not forget, she released Rush Rush, which I know.
Give me that milk carton and Keanu Reeves the milk bottle. Oh my gosh, that's my coming of age moment. That was it right there. Watching that on MTV, I would like rewind it all the like, oh, ever been in love before? If I was, I didn't know it. Oh my gosh, I loved that, man.
Oh my God, I love you
moment. So much. And I finally was like, oh, I'm gonna watch Rebel Without a Cause because it's based on Rebel Without a Cause. Not a good movie. Not a good movie. No. It was just watch the Rush Rush video. Don't waste your time.
Oh man, that whole thing. Oh, he's so okay. We'll all be in our bunks.
With the violins playing behind.
Yes. And then like he walks and he like sits down next to her. Oh God, that movie, that's such a romantic video.
Oh, it's so good.
Hurry, hurry, lover, come to me.
Rush, rush. Oh, so good.
So good. This is like, you and I are just the right age for that.
That is part of the problem. We're in the same generation and we are just like, yeah, no. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Okay. So, oh, right. Okay. I want to talk to you about your holiday workshop. Okay. Holiday workshop. Okay. So all right, here's what, okay. So as we're wrapping up, because that entire part is really going to go in the behind the scenes blooper, which is amazing. But I want to talk about your holiday workshop as we start to wrap up, because so I am participating in it, as are five others, I believe, including yourself. And it is it's a 1 day workshop where you're helping people get set up for the holiday season. Now, obviously, I have a hard on for this because there's hard on. I'm just throwing hard ons around, like, just
Really
like
are.
everybody's getting a hard on.
Swinging across our face. Okay.
It's all over the place. But because it's 1 day and it prepares you for the holiday season, but it's also got like support structures built in. And as you know, it's brilliantly designed. I'm actually like, as I was like looking at it, I thought to myself, this is really, it's like you really thought about when people would need help. What do they need help with? At what point in time in the development of the process? So you have it really carefully structured. And when we were talking about it, it was structured to make sure that the holiday season, which is usually quote unquote very busy, that we can deprogram that, reframe it, and make it a full but prepared holiday season, to where they don't feel like they're overwhelmed with all the business stuff they need to do, so they can spend time with their families. So tell me a little bit about why you set this course up, and how you have it set up to help support them and reduce the busyness.
The background really comes from the fact that I was in home shopping. And as a result, I know the importance of holiday. So like knowing we would have holidays planned like so far in advance, because in order to be, I mean, that's where you gain ground in retail, period. Right. That's all. Black Friday, you make your money on Black Friday. That's when you go black and not in the red. That's where the term Black Friday comes from. Not from Black people, although we'll take it because it's a fun day. But also,
I never knew how it was named. But I was like, but when you said that, I was like, I have to ask, did people think this was named by Black people? Like, is that how they?
No, but it's the ledger. The ledger would be in the black. So the thought process is you be in the red until Black
Well, I had no idea. I actually had no idea why it was named Black Friday. I was like, but now I know. Thank you.
I know, you're welcome. And so what I found when I got into network marketing was like, I'm like, so what's the plan? I was like, plan. Oh, we're just waiting to see what corporate says and what corporate gives us. And corporate would come out with things like in November or December for the holidays, or, oh, well, Upland will kind of figure out something out. And I'm like, this is insane, like actual insanity. I believe you're not ahead, you're not behind, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. But the one caveat to that is the holiday season. If you're figuring that out in November, you're losing, because we have to realize it doesn't matter how many great customers or clients you have, they only have a finite amount of money. And so when you come up and you show up, hey, it's a Black Friday, or it's Cyber Monday, and I want to now tell you about my specials, like, hun child, Black Friday was going on 2 months ago at Costco. I bought all my stuff.
Yep.
I bought it from Amazon. I bought it from Target. I bought all those places. Why we think it's okay to wait and then go, hey, people, money doesn't grow on trees. We learned that a long time ago. Although it might.
Would that it did.
Right. So the thought process that we would go, like, again, like you said earlier, the point of being in network marketing was to not work so hard. And then we would plan things. We wouldn't plan things. They would come up last minute. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So what I started doing with my team when I was doing network marketing was like, let's get this go. I would encourage my uplines even when I started, we've got to have something now. Let's do something earlier, which we did. And then when I started coaching, I was like, hell no, we're doing this earlier and earlier and earlier. Mm-hmm. And so my members are they're like waiting, like, the last couple months, like, holiday, Roxanne, holiday. I'm like, I'm so glad you remember. But so every year I've done some type of holiday workshop in some form or fashion. But I realized, because each year I got to make it better than the year before. How the heck am I going to do that this year? So I thought, wait a moment. I also am a firm believer that there's a group of experts who are about the wrecking ball, about making network marketing go into the future and not stay in the past. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, let me get them together, including Vanessa Carnegie. And let's do a workshop that gives people a plan, that gives you clarity, that allows you to pick and choose, and gives you great new ideas and things that we've tried that we have proven that have worked. And let's give you the blueprint so that you can go and rock the holidays at whatever scope, regardless of whether your company gives you everything late. There's the flip side of that coin. Like you said, there's a high and a low, right? They give it to you early and then it all sells out. because that
Yeah.
happens too. It's like it's sold out at the beginning of November, and now I don't have, there's no plan to get you through November and December. It happens every year. And so this is like going to basically company proof you,
Yeah.
company proof your holidays.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Company proof your holiday. I love this because, you know, one of the things that came to mind as you were talking, and again, this is not disparagement. And I said these things when I was at, you know, my network marketing company as well, is that a lot of network marketers think that their company has everything figured out. Like they're going to make sure. And the truth is your company cares about you a lot. Like they want you to succeed, but they don't have everything figured out. And honestly, sometimes behind the scenes, and I've been behind the scenes, so I know this, sometimes they're just literally figuring it out as they go. And this is not just the one I was with. I've seen this happen in many companies where they're literally just, and I'm sure you've seen it as well. And the issue is that a lot of business owners think that's just the way it's supposed to be. And one of the most successful workshops I ever did a few years ago was where it was a retail training, and I pulled the statistics for the last 5 years in holiday sales and like the difference in terms of how much money do people make throughout the rest of the year, how much money do they make in these few months, and then what happens in January and February, right? Because every year people are surprised that this happens. And I'm like, this has been going on for decades. So like if you are going to be in retail, which you are, whether you're a network marketer or not, you have to accept that you are bankrolling your entire year from these 3 months. But I think a lot of people think of it like as just any other, like just deal with it like every other month. And like, so they think of it, and I think this has a lot to do with direct sales. I'm curious to know what you think. In that in direct sales, usually you have a monthly incentive. You hit this each month and you do that. So when the network marketers, when the new month starts, it always starts at 0. And so every month seems like an independent month on its own. Whereas as retailers, you actually have to think in an annual basis where it's how does it all fit in? Can you speak to, I don't even know that I really asked a question, but can you speak to that a little bit in terms of like how the thought process?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right, because when the clock hits the first, all that you've done goes away technically. What I found is when people look at it bigger than the bigger picture, I want to have volume growth, for example. And by the end of the year, I want to be making this much volume wise. All the other stuff happens. It's just hard to program, like to get them in that mindset because they're so fixated on the carrot. Like you said that earlier, like they're always like, because the companies and like I agree with you, companies are doing the best that they can. They're just not magical unicorns because they're not.
It
And
is.
that's okay. But it's almost like a dog race or a horse race where you've got the little dog or the carrot in front of them running, right? You've got that's the carrot is okay, get this trip or get this thing. And that doesn't happen on an annual basis, right? It happens
Yeah.
on if this. So, but if they look at the big picture, if they look at the numbers, if they look at like I have a business bundle tracker for that purpose. Like if you look at your growth and it has like you can chart your growth, it makes a huge difference. And a lot of times I find myself reprogramming things with some of my clients that are like, oh, I just was a bad month. It was bad. Like, let's look at your business bundle tracker. Okay, so look at that. You actually did better than the last 3 months. Like they just don't visually know or realize or
Yeah.
see. Or because some companies have almost like an AB month because everything is every 2 months, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, wait, you didn't do as well as last month, but the other A month, you have actually grown from that A month. And it's when they take a look at things like that that they realize, oh, wait, I'm actually doing better. But because they're not taught to look at the numbers.
Yeah. And so you keep moving the goalposts. That was actually one of the things that I noticed the most, when I sort of started to pivot was the recognition that we keep moving the goalposts for ourselves. Like we're like, nobody actually sets a goalpost and says, that's it. We get to this goal that we set and we get long past it. And we're still telling ourselves we suck, even though we've already hit 13 goals. And we're like,
Yeah.
I'm the worst. They're like, what do you mean you're the worst? You're doing so much better.
I do so much reframing with my clients, like my one-on-one clients with that right there,
Yeah.
especially the leaders, because we think the leaders are like, I've got it, I'm amazing. And I just want you guys all to know as you do grow, and maybe that's why part of the reason you have to like realize like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. As you do grow, if you don't enjoy where you are right now, you're always going to feel like you're not enough.
Amen. Oh my God. That is like a mic drop if ever I heard one. That is so true. If you don't enjoy where you are now, you will always feel like you're not enough. And that is, and I actually feel more fulfilled, more successful. Like sometimes I feel bad saying it. I'm working on that reprogramming part where I'm just like, dude, I'm amazing. My life is amazing. I'm super successful. And I feel like, God, she's so full of herself, right? And that's the kind of negative self-talk that we have to reprogram, because that's why you don't say those things. You don't say those things because the second you say it, your inner voice starts to tell you what an asshole you are.
Yeah. So two things. My human design coach, yes, I have one, Lauren Armstrong, is like working with me on, I don't remember what she calls it, but when something good happens, celebration is something that's big in my, like, celebrating it and saying thank you and more, please. So not, oh, it's just this or that and I need more, but thank you. This is so exciting. I show my gratitude for something and then I'm like, and more, please. So like encouraging that to
That feeling, yeah.
to come back, that behavior. But the other thing I was thinking is Jessica Jess Sims, excuse me, is one of my favorite Peloton instructors. And she closes her strength classes, which I take from her, by saying, realize you are a masterpiece and a work in progress all at the same damn time.
Love that. Love that. I'm really, especially right now where I'm really into this fluidity of identity, where it's like recognizing that you're always changing. So like the second you decide this is who I am, this is my identity, you get stuck to it, but now you've changed 5 days later. Like now you feel bad about not. So it's like being okay that you're perfect as you are, and you're continuing to make yourself more perfect based off of whatever design you want. Like you get to decide that. Oh my God, I love that. So, this has been a fabulous, we haven't even gotten into the fun questions yet, just by the way. So like, but now the fun questions are coming. Okay, guys. So we are going to wrap up this podcast now. And we're going to move this on into the private Patreon. Roxanne, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been absolutely amazing. And I feel like there were so many aha moments. I'm going to have to go back and like take all kinds of notes on this. And I just looked over and I was like, thank God I'm recording, because that would have fucking sucked if I was. I've definitely done that. All right. So for those of you who are members of the Patreon, we will see you in there. If you are not and you want to join us on the Patreon and get some behind the scenes stuff with Roxanne, you can join us at manessa.com/Patreon. And